Do you know what's one of the best ways to speed up our personal and spiritual growth? Apart from meditation, it's shadow work. Shadow work is about bringing light or awareness to suppressed and hidden aspects of ourselves, our shadows that are not aligned with our true selves. Those shadows can be positive aspects of ourselves or negative aspects of ourselves, and the negative aspects are like our fears, our limiting beliefs, our doubts, our insecurities, and they're usually the things that we focus on when we do shadow work. The sneaky thing about our shadows is that they are unconscious, so we don't really notice them, but they do influence how we think, what we say, how we act, the choices, the decisions we make, even without us realizing it. There are two main reasons you may want to do shadow work. The first reason is that it will help to remove the resistance that may otherwise prevent you from achieving your goals and dreams and achieving your full potential. And the second reason is that if you're into spiritual growth, well, bringing light to our shadows is pretty much a requirement to evolve in consciousness. The spiritual path is a journey from fear to love, which includes transmuting our shadows into love or into light. And the easiest way I know to do shadow work is through journaling. So today I'll share a few journal prompts, 3 or 4, to help us uncover or bring light to our shadows. Again, the goal is realignment with our true self so that we can achieve soul level fulfillment. Here's the first prompt, which has been probably the most healing for me this year. What's your favorite flavor of suffering, or the negative emotion that you tend to experience the most often? It's a question Anthony Robbins asked us at one of his events, and when he said that, I instantly knew what my favorite flavor of suffering was: anger. Yours could be loneliness, envy, jealousy, anxiety, sadness, nostalgia. Once you've identified what it is, then you can follow up with the question, what triggers it? Or why do you feel that way? Ask yourself why you feel that emotion several times until you get to the root cause. For example, as I said, my favorite flavor of suffering is anger. So when I ask myself what triggers it, I realize that it usually arises when I feel threatened. Most often when my freedom feels threatened. Freedom happens to be my number one value. And after journaling about that for a few minutes, I realized that the root cause of my anger was that I felt like a victim of my circumstances. And this realization was a game changer. Because then the key to shifting my anger into peace was to remind myself several times per day that I am the creator of my reality, not a victim of it. Do you see how powerful this is? You can undo years of programming with this kind of practices, with shadow work. So that's your turn. What's your favorite flavor of suffering, and what usually triggers it? The second journal prompt is also very powerful, but first, what do you think is the lowest vibration emotion? Do you think it's anger, jealousy, sadness? Well, according to the work of Dr. David Hawkins, it's shame. Shame followed by guilt. So a powerful journal prompt you can try is, what's one thing you wouldn't want people to know about you? And you can follow up with, why do you want to keep that thing secret? What would happen if people knew? Journal about this until you have nothing else to say. Bring light to what's causing the shame. It might be a difficult journal prompt because shame is a very intense emotion. So you can start with something that doesn't cause too much pain. Once you've done writing, once you have nothing else to add, you can follow up with the question, what would it take for me to accept myself unconditionally? Here's the next prompt. By the way, I don't recommend doing them all at once. I don't even recommend doing shadow work every day, maybe once or twice a week and one prompt at a time, because it's pretty intense. So the prompt is, what's one thing you don't like being criticized about, and why does it bother you? Even when we take criticism pretty well, I do tend to take them pretty well, but there are usually a certain type of comments that get to us. And the reason these comments get to us or trigger us is that there's usually a part of us that believes they're true. That's why hearing them is painful. For example, someone once commented something about my accent, and it triggered insecurities within me because I've always felt like having an accent is a bit of a disadvantage. I'm French Canadian, and whether I create content in French or in English, I'll have an accent because even in French, For French people, I have a Quebec accent, so it's no better. And I prefer to create content in English just because I prefer to connect with a broader audience, but I have to deal with the fact that I have an accent and I'll probably have one all my life. So after you've answered the question, why does it bother you? You can ask yourself, is it really that bad? This is what I asked myself about my accent. Is it really that bad? Am I really sure it's a bad thing? And by writing about it, by journaling about it, I started making peace with it. So this journal prompt is another one that can help us sort of transmute our negative self-perception into acceptance. The following prompt will help you gain clarity about what you really want to have, to experience, and to become in life, and why you haven't accomplished or become these things yet. The prompt is, who do you secretly envy and why? Go deep into this question and ask yourself why several times until you have nothing else to say. And know that envy doesn't have to be like intense envy. Like I'm not the kind of person who tends to envy people, but maybe it's just that you look at someone and think, oh, I wish I could accomplish the same thing too. And here's why it's powerful. Your envy shows you your deep desires. And instead of feeling defeated, you can transform this envy into clarity of what you want. And I'm a firm believer that we can achieve pretty much all our heart's desires as long we know what they are. And once you've done writing, you can follow up with the question, why don't you have that thing you envy yet? Again, go deep and write until you have nothing else to say. Once you've done writing, look at what you wrote and see if there's any block that you are ready and willing to release. I'd love to know your thoughts on these journal prompts and if they are helpful to you or not. Let me know what you think in the comments. You can also share more shadow work journal prompts you like in the comments as well. Again, shadow work is deep inner work. Don't rush it. Take your time and you'll grow exponentially. Thank you very much for watching. I wish you a beautiful day and I'll see you next week.